And last time I checked during Biden's administration, the last one, the world was on fire. At least we're bringing this thing under control here, hopefully.
So I think you answered the question in that, in the MAGA or the Donald Trump supporters, which you've exhibited, pretty. Remember that time you rode a bike out here with a Trump flag, right as I'm doing the show?
You remember what day that was? That was the day Bonich was sitting in your office, sitting in there being interviewed, and I called in while on the bike and said, "Hey, dude, why are you keeping all these guys in prison instead of sending them out on ankle monitors?" And then we found out his girlfriend was on the medical payroll take.
All right, hold on. So you're a Trump supporter who is defending the president in this situation. That's what I was looking for. I didn't know where you were because it's kind of weird. I know a lot of Trump supporters, and I've seen some over the weekend. I went to a zillion places, and it's, to me, it's basically about divided half and half. It's like, dude, Trump sat there and ripped on this and said, hey, we're going to expose the Epstein files, and Pam Bondi did, and certainly JD Vance was the biggest one. He was the one who said, like, hey, if you guys haven't looked into the Epstein files, you're not doing your job, to all the journalists. And now he's there, he's doing what you're doing, which is apologizing for Trump on this whole thing. And then you have, then you have a lot of people on the Donald Trump side that are like, dude, I like Trump, but he's got to release this stuff. This is BS. So sounds like you're solidly on Trump's side.
What if there's nothing there? Is it possible? Because here's the deal, and this is something you want to listen to, Jimmy. And I'll even pay you to do it. If you need $100 for the hour, I'll pay you. All right. Listen to a podcast done by Ben Shapiro, where it turns out not everything, but everything that was said in the public, many of these things turned out to be the people who said these things. Oh, I've seen the file. And then they recanted it. The girl who said she was with Alan Dershowitz at the island. Oh, maybe it wasn't him. All of them have recanted it. And there's only one person, a reporter, a female for the New York Times, who said, I saw the list. And then she came back and said, oh, wait a minute. The list only had the names of the victims, of the girls.
Hey, you know what? I understand completely both sides. Jimmy, no, hold on a second. I understand both sides of the MAGA argument. And to me, it's pretty interesting because you have people that have been unapologetic. Everything Trump says is gospel, kind of like you. That have gone and said, no, this is wrong. Let's find out what's really going on. So really what happens in these situations, in my mind, isn't like, is there really something in the files? Is there not in the files? We're not going to know that. The important part to me is the process. And what is the process? Now, the process
what do you mean by that?
Well, the process here is like, there were a lot of people that made political points, including J.D. Vance and Kash Patel and Bongino and a lot of people that were just ripping on the Biden administration, as you are, and for not releasing this stuff. And they're like, well, when we get in charge, we're going to release this stuff. And then all of a sudden, when you do get in charge, it's like, well, move along. There's nothing to see here.
No, but they did release what they had. They were under the expectation they had more than what they thought.
Hey, man, you could keep going down the list of evidence that you're doing, but it's pretty. It's not me that you're arguing with. You're arguing with other people that are solidly in the MAGA camp. That, to me, is the most important part. It's not even the issue. I don't know about what happened to Epstein, and quite frankly, a little bit, I'm like, what Trump said, I certainly care that there was abuse done, and it should be ferreted out, and the people should be held accountable. But, we do have a lot of things going on in the world that perhaps could
I agree with that.
There is a little bit of that. But for the most part, what it represents in the process is a break. Up until now.
No, listen.
Up
2 weeks,
until
no one's
now,
gonna care about this.
Up until now, if you were in the MAGA world, or quite frankly, if you were in the politically correct Democratic world, you really couldn't have your own opinion. You had to toe the line all the way. And that is what happened in my mind during COVID.
It's like Nancy Pelosi says, yeah.
You have to go with what Nancy Pelosi says and Chuck Schumer and all that, or you're cast out. Or on the other side, you got to go with what Donald Trump says, or now it's JD Vance.
Well, we have open debate on our side. Hey, what can I ask you one more question?
Anyways, let's move on. 219-845-1100. Hey, you're on the air. How are you?
It's Dr. MX.
That's a little scary. I agree.
Well, it's a lot better than Dr. Jill Biden. I don't think Dr. Jill Biden saved 3 lives this year. Trucker Mike isn't the only person that I came to the aid of. There was a person, close family member, choking on a piece of food, and I managed to give the Heimlich maneuver, and they went to St. Catherine's, to be checked out after that. And it's funny, another close member had brain aneurysm. And this gets into where Trucker Mike was at. This is the reason. First of all, I want to thank Dave Gearman and Tom Dapperton for handling the situation. I came up and I took orders from Dave Gearman. And Trucker Mike says, "Why didn't you take a picture of what I look like?" And that was far from my thoughts, and probably, I can't speak for Dave Gearman, but he didn't have his camera out on Trucker Mike. When I pulled up, I looked at the look on Dave Gearman's face, and I know him, and I know his brother, and his brother's a bad dude. We gotten a few punch-ups from people come from East Chicago, thought they were real tough back in the 70s, and Dave Gearman come friends with him, and that didn't turn out good for them. But I looked, Dave Gearman says, "Look at Trucker Mike." And I looked at Trucker Mike, and I looked at Dave Gearman, and we shook hands. It isn't like he put his hands out, and I put my hands out, but we shook hands, and we knew we had a job to do. So I followed him to the hospital. But before I followed him to the hospital, nobody's took more ambulance rides than MX from dirt bike tracks. Let's see, I'm up to over 30 broken bones, separation, ligaments, and I think 13 surgeries. And I know how these EMT work. They're fantastic. The first thing they do, they settle you down when your bones are all twisted up and dislocated. You're going to be okay. We're calling your family. We're going to take you to the hospital. And we've seen this before. You're going to be okay. And then after about the fifth time you take a ride in the Meatball Express, your buddy's just throwing you in a pickup truck, and you go to the local hospital, and they ask, what happened? I said, well, you look at my ankle, it's dislocated. And they said, what are you doing with the motocross boot on? I said, I fell off the roof. But anyway, so I followed.
All right, hold on. I got to slow you down. I mean, I have a feeling you could go on with this for a while, but I want to read you something from the Times of what Dapperton said. MX and Dave from Gary don't agree 90% of the time on anything, but they jumped into action at a moment's notice, worked as well as any team you can imagine, and worked together to save this man's life. We were fortunate to have listeners who have opposing political viewpoints and never agree on anything to be on the same page when there's an emergency.
Well, you know what? I can read eyeballs. And I read Dave Gearman's eyes, and I looked at Trucker Mike, and Trucker Mike was in trouble. And thank goodness Dave Gearman got there and put him in the truck and threw some air conditioning on him. So in that article, it says Perry Stabler.
Perry Stabler. They were calling you Perry Stabler on Fox, just so you know.
Yeah, no, they weren't. They were calling me Perry Stabler. The WJOB people, the poorly educated, were calling Perry Stabler, but we don't care about that because that's just jealousy. Now, I followed, now that I saved 2 lives, this is the 3rd one, and I know the condition of, nobody will be with him for a while. I want to give kudos to that Gary Methodist Hospital, because when I sat there, Trucker Mike had a severe headache and he couldn't see. He thought Dave Gearman was me. So when I got to the hospital, they were doing something different than what they usually do for a person who has aneurysms, okay? And I wondered why they had done that. And then I had found out that they, just by looking at him before they took the test, the protocol test, the CT scan, the angiogram, the MRI, that neurologist at Gary Methodist knew exactly what Trucker Mike had. I thought, I'm not a doctor. So they were treating, I'm not going to tell you what they were giving him, and I asked him, why are you giving him that? And I didn't ask that. I said, what are you giving him? And I said to myself, wow, that's weird, right? But that doctor knew by looking at his face what was wrong. And what did Trucker Mike's face look like is he poked a beehive and the bee stung him around the eye sockets, and it looks like his eyes was ready to bleed. So as the tests come in, they all come in normal. So somebody, and it had to be that neurologist that came in there, diagnosed that right away. I've been in a lot of hospitals.
And I agree that you have been in a lot of hospitals, Evel Knievel. It was an amazing moment, and I got to move on.
Come on, Ted. I want to say one more thing.
All right, go ahead.
Don't steal my thunder. I'm waiting for our phone call from Mayor Tom. Thank you for being a brave individuals, you and Dave Gearman, and going into Gary, a place we really didn't know. Just waiting for a phone call, maybe free Festival Lake tickets. Now, Mad Mac, he gets some because he's got knee pads, and I don't want them tickets like that. And good luck, the poorly educated. I got to go.
All right, see ya. Thank you. Now, Adriana Alvarez is here, and one day she is going to be national, maybe in front of the camera, maybe as a director, producer, that kind of stuff. But at no point in your career, Adriana, will you ever encounter this type of colorful characters in your whole career. Will not happen.
I will say I very much appreciate the callers. Regardless if we disagree, regardless if we are arguing over the phone and I happen to just like have my finger slip and hang up on them from time to time, I do appreciate them all, and they definitely bring a lot of life into the station here.
And I think that the Times got it right. Joe Pete writing the article here about, the people that were very much against each other. Certainly Dave Gearman and MX have really kind of, yelled at each other, one call then the next. But, man, did they come together to, as Dabberton said, perhaps save Trucker Mike's life. That's not something that happens
every day, yeah.
Every day, and it really is kind of hard to build up that kind of loyalty to, our fellow man, and partly through JED TV and WJOB. I still have a little trouble with Trucker Mike turning to MX to interpret his medical needs and terminology. I don't mean to laugh in your face, MX. I'm laughing with you, but I would like to see that unfold. I might even go visit, see Trucker Mike, and wouldn't it be nice to? I mean, it would be HIPAA laws involved, but for Trucker Mike and MX to try to be figuring out medical papers and medical terminology and to put mics on them. And
so what I'm hearing is you want to do, like, in a sense, if we have both of them in here, a little game show with the TV there, and you just bring up the word, and you're like, what's the definition of this?
There you go, man. And then MX will make something up, and Trucker Mike will, have some other definition for it. I mean,
it'll be WJOB Jeopardy, Health Edition.
Who needs AI when you got Adriana Alvarez, man? Wow. We had a meeting yesterday, and it was basically a creative, like, if you go to an advertising firm and they're sitting there and they're trying to bounce ideas back and forth, and we had to sit there and come up with some creative ideas on a project, and you guys kept turning to AI, and I'm like, I think there's more creativity in the 5 people around the desk than AI, although they did have some good ideas. Mm-hmm. I think there's a lot of people that are listening that don't even understand how that would work. If you needed an idea for an ad campaign, which is what this was, mm-hmm. you could literally ask AI and they could give you 4 or 5 suggestions. And if you don't like them, you just do it again, mm-hmm. and they'll come up with 5 new suggestions. I think it's changed the world.
Oh, no, it definitely has.
What is it about? How do you write a paper for
school?
For school.
So I am one that I've never used AI at all for school until I had a class that was specifically for AI. So that you use it was called like Creative AI, and you were using it in class. Like, this was something that the teacher put in the syllabus and said, it is okay that you use ChatGPT. It's okay that you use Gemini. All of these different AI sources. Like, we want you to use them. And it was a little weird at first because I have heard students throughout my entire high school into college up till now where they're like, yeah, I just type in the topic of my paper, a few points, and they write my paper for me. I tweak it a little bit so I don't get caught. And I was like, what? They're like, well, yeah, how long does it take you to write your papers? I'm like, well, I'll give you 5 pages in an hour. That's about it. They're like, oh, you actually write your papers? I was like, yes, I write my papers.
Well, that is one of the things that they're saying is that you can't give somebody a paper assignment because they're going to come back with a really good paper. You don't know if they wrote it or not.
Yeah,
okay?
That's why teachers, professors, they do like a first assignment is, okay, write a short story just so they can get your, they can kind of see what you write like. And if it is different throughout your curriculum and you show growth and improvement, that they kind of know that either you didn't use AI, but if it is perfect your entire way through, that's how they kind of know that you're using AI.
Well, to me, the only way you're going to know, and you and I both know if you get good at AI, you could go the whole semester without writing a word.
Yeah.
Right? And we're getting pretty good at it here, and we use it in everything. The news at night, Times and us come together, and Jasmine, who's pretty good with AI down from Bloomington, she applies it and writes the thing, and eventually it's all just going to be read by AI, and I get that. But the ability to test somebody's ability to write is just not there anymore. Mm-mm. You can't do it. So the only way you could do it is give somebody a blue book and they write it in class, hand by hand.
Now, here's the thing.
You can't do it on a computer because they'll just go over.
They'll just type it. Now, when it comes into writing right there in the book, how many kids are going to write in print and how many are going to write in cursive? I can bet you 99% of those kids are going to write in print and not in cursive.
And that's okay, right? What's the difference? Why can't they print it?
They're going to stop teaching cursive in schools. They've already done it. I know somebody that's my age that doesn't know cursive. And I said, well, how do you sign your name? and they print their name. And I was like, that's a little dangerous. But one thing that people are theorizing that why they aren't teaching cursive anymore is because they think, one, it's not needed, but two, a lot of important documents are written in cursive, like throughout our U.S. history. So if they stop teaching cursive, then people won't be able to read it. So if they stop teaching it and say, oh, it's irrelevant, we don't need it in the curriculum, it's just a different style of writing. It's not really needed. Well, when you get older and you can't read cursive and you're handed a very important document and they're just like, just sign your name, it's okay, you don't really need to read it. That could be very dangerous later on.
I never thought of that. I mean, in all of my years, I have never, even the internet was not as transformative because it took a while. You had to go through AOL dial-up, and then it took a long time to kind of bring it into your lives, and then you had email, and then you had websites, and then you had Facebook, and I mean, all that stuff took a while to unfold. AI is like, right now, is taking over everything. And and I know that we need less people because we're AIing the news, and it used to take 5 hours at night. Now it takes about an hour and a half. And we're AIing our programming, which used to take a lot more time, but now you can just link to an AI-created file. Now, I got a guy coming in here, and I met him the other day, met with him, and he's going to be able to take all of our old shows and plug them into the AI machine and make 20-minute clips out of all of them. So all that editing that we thought we were going to have to do, it will be a lot of computing power and a lot of storage, but we'll be able to take I used to do a 5-hour show, and we have a file of that, right? Well, who wants to watch that? But you take that 5-hour show and you put it down to 2 20-minute clips. Well, who's going to do that? That's going to take forever. Well, not me and not you. It's going to be the AI machine. They've written programs that'll do that. And how they do it is first they do a transcript, and then they go and they apply certain parameters to the transcript. So they're not really, they're not even editing the video at all. They're just editing the transcript. If you boil it down to that, it becomes fairly easy. Isn't that crazy? That's so we're wondering, what are we teaching over here across the way? To me, the number one thing you could teach is the ability, not just AI or writing code. Code writers are out. You could AI will write your code in a heartbeat. The number one thing you can teach people is systems. And how do you run, and how does AI plug into your system? And I know you guys hear me talking about systems all the time. How is this system? Why are we upgrading this system? Because now it is completely done by AI with about 10% of the man hours that we would have had 10 years ago. I mean, think of your systems, your podcast system, right? And your integration of your podcasts into our programming, which we haven't gotten to yet. But once we get there, it'll just be AI pushing it through, right?
And it comes into programming in AI where at one point we're just going to say, okay, this program this, and it's going to go straight through. Like currently right now we're live on YouTube, and that's also just because...
Are we?
We are live on YouTube, yes.
Oh, because I've been playing songs all morning.
I have programmed it so that way when it hits 7 o'clock, it'll go live. But I would need to start it because I knew you were going to play songs in the morning. So I made sure that not only was it programmed, so that way I'll hit live and it goes from there. We'll be playing non-copyright music for the rest of the day, except for going into this week because we will be playing music for the main acts of Festival of the Lakes. But I programmed that to make sure that way not only will we be live without having copyright issues, but also so that way later on it will probably go that AI will be like, here's your best clips, and you can post them as reels. I wouldn't be surprised if YouTube hasn't had that yet. If not, they will.
Oh, they already
eventually.
do,
Yeah.
but it's in the beta thing. But I mean, we're talking about doing it locally. But anyways, I don't want to go. We kind of went off on that. Festival of Lakes is this week. Let's take a short break. And on the way out, can you tell us the 5 main acts on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday?
Yes,
I texted.
can.
Did I put you on with McDermott last night?
No,
I did not.
So, no.
So he's scheduled for 7 o'clock on Thursday with me.
I got that notification. Yes.
Yeah, so he'll be here and we'll go through. But that'll be one, I think, John Fogerty is tomorrow night.
Yep, I got all the acts right
here. All right,
here.
we'll get that on the other side of a short break. Be right back on the Voice and Face of the Region.
Good morning, everyone. You're listening to JED in the Region on WJOB 1230 AM 104.7 FM in Hammond, Indiana, and you're also watching live on the JED TV TuneIn app. Good morning. My name is Adriana Alvarez. It is Tuesday, July 15th, 7:46 a.m. I'm going to be giving you your weather for today, as well as previewing the main acts for Festival of the Lakes. So currently right now at the Strachan Van Til Studios, it is 76 degrees. Today we are seeing highs of 90 degrees and lows of 72. Hot and humid with times of clouds and sun, a thunderstorm in spots late this afternoon. Air quality will be unhealthy for sensitive groups. On Wednesday, we are seeing highs of 93 degrees and lows of 72 degrees. Hot and humid with clouds and sun, a thunderstorm in spots in the afternoon. Possible danger of dehydration and heat stroke while doing strenuous activities. And then on Thursday, highs of 77 degrees and lows of 63 degrees, mostly cloudy and humid with a couple of showers and heavy thunderstorms. We are seeing a little bit of rain this week as we go into Festival of the Lakes, but no worries, the main acts will still go on. On Wednesday, we have John Fogerty, my computer didn't load for a second. Wednesday, July 16, John Fogerty plus Hardy Har. That is the opening act for John Fogerty. That is Wednesday, July 16th. On Thursday, July 17th, we have our opening act of Tyler Farr, and then the main act of Brantley Gilbert. On Friday, July 18th, we have Crucial Conflict, Rick Gilla, Ben One, Al Coleon, Lip Tack, and DJ K. Caesar for opening for Akon. And then on Saturday, July 19th, we have the Sedonas opening for Third Eye Blind. And then on Sunday, July 20th, we have let's see if I can pronounce this correctly. We have a Mariachi Herencia de Mexico and Los Galmenos de Chicago for opening for La Arrendora Banda El Limón de Rene Chamacho. That is on Sunday, July 20th. So those are your opening acts for Festival of the Lakes. So let's see, is your mic on? Maybe? There he goes.
In the old days, Adriana, I would just leave the mic on as I went and stood at the urinal in there, and that I got accosted one time in the green beans aisle and the canned goods aisle at Strachan Van Til by a woman I never met and haven't seen since. That was one of the rudest things that she ever heard in her life. I think part of it is, she's a woman, and there's the sound of the urinal, and it's kind of a male thing. And so I turned my mic off now. Is that okay? I mean, I learned. I mean, another one is, I used to eat on the air, and Cal Bellamy, he's a well-known banker around here. First, he used to accost me about how I dressed on the air and presenting to the younger generation. So, as you notice, I typically always have a starched collar on. And there was an effect there. But he just could not get over. He's like, you cannot eat on the air. That is the grossest and the most rude thing to people. And so every once in a while, I listen. And one of those is turning my mic off. So sorry about that. Hey, listen, Fogerty is tomorrow. Do you know who that is?
I've heard the name, I probably know some songs if I were to look up some songs.
But we can't play them now, can we?
No.
I think if we say the word Fogerty too many times, we might get flagged by YouTube. Yeah. I was a huge fan of John Fogerty, of course, coming out of Creedence Clearwater Revival, CCR. He started in the late 1950s. He's 80 years old right now, and I just wonder how that's going to hold up. He was born in 1945, up around the bend. Have you ever seen the rain? Born on the Bayou, and Cotton Fields with Willie and the Poor Boys. He did Fortunate Son, of course, with Willie and the Poor Boys. I've seen him a number of times, and he gives different shows. And one of the shows is kind of the more pop show he did at, I think one time it was at the casino over here in Hammond at Horseshoe. And then I've seen him also do the harder rock versions where he goes in the Born on the Bayou for like 12 minutes. And I don't know what he's going to do here at the Festival of the Lakes, but that is tomorrow night. The next morning after John Fogerty, McDermott's going to be in here, and we'll review how that went, and we will preview the rest of it. The one minor we'll preview the rest of Festival of the Lakes, but the one minor connection I had with John Fogerty is I went to school where he grew up. He grew up in the Berkeley, California area, and I went down to the Berkeley Community Center, and I took guitar lessons from this old guy with a big beard, and he looked like a ship's captain right out of Central Casting. And I didn't realize it when I had enrolled, but it was right around the corner from where I was living. It was like $4 or something. So I took the guitar lessons from him, and it turns out that he was the guy who taught John Fogerty how to play the guitar. So he would tell Fogerty stories about what a dweeb the guy was when he came in to, 14 years old to take his first guitar lesson. He didn't know he didn't know songs. He just knew how to do notes and chords and that kind of stuff, and he kind of tightened them up. But he said he was the dweebiest, kind of like, almost like a computer nerd would be now. He was a guitar nerd back then, and that people forget that as he went on to pop fame, that he was really kind of on the outside of the social circuit there. John Fogerty is a Grammy-winning American singer, guitarist, and songwriter, and a prominent figure in American music. The Berkeley native is best known as leader of the swamp rock band Creedence Clearwater Revival, where he played lead guitar and sang lead vocals. In the 1950s, he formed the band Tommy Fogerty and the Blue Velvets, and his brother Tom, Doug Clifford, and Stu Cook all helped him with that. This is a big moment, folks. John Fogerty coming to Hammond, Indiana, and that'll be tomorrow. And they can get their tickets at what, FOTL, or what's the website?
You can get tickets. Let me see here.
Yes, festivallakes.com. I see. Yeah. Can you buy tickets there?
Yes, I'm pretty sure. Right now I see it,
Yeah.
They sponsor they show the VIP first, and then I don't know. Are these ticket the concerts here? Majority of them are free concerts, and then they have their VIP sections, right?
Is that what it is? You know what? I forget.
Don't quote me on that.
I thought no. That must be what it is, because
Oh yeah, free concerts with VIP upgrades available.
So the VIP upgrade is not cheap. It is $110.49 with $10.49 of fees included. So $110.49 for one ticket to John Fogerty. And the VIP gates open tomorrow at 6 o'clock. And the opening acts begin at 6:30. And the headliner takes the stage around 9 p.m. So if he's taking the stage at 9 p.m., you got to believe there's some sort of curfew over there for the Robertsdale Whiting people, don't you think? Or no? I mean, anyways, let's take some phone calls, see how people are doing. Anything on your mind? You want to talk about the Epstein case? You want to talk about Festival of the Lakes? Brantley Gilbert is on Thursday. Akon is on Friday. Third Eye Blind is on Saturday. What a big names. And La Araladora is on Saturday.
There you go.
All right, let's take some phone calls. 219-845-1100. Hey, you're on the air.
Hey, he take the thunder from the mountain, he take the lightning from the sky, he bring a strong man to his begging knee, and he make the young girl's mamas cry. You got a hidey, you got to jump and run. You got the old man, he's down the road. Don't forget that song. That was a great single from him. But didn't he get into a big fight, John Fogerty, with Saul Zaentz, the producer of The English Patient? I used to read that guy's meter when I worked for the power company out west. Anyway, I want to say real quick, go see John Fogerty, and be careful of praising the AI. Good friend of Brad Gimbel's is a major software engineer, if not a CEO status, of a major airline. And what he is presently in Gulfston is a mass problem of productivity loss due to the CEO's grandiose dreams that AI is going to alleviate his workforce. I would also like you guys to take a look at an MIT study that just came out that I've been reviewing, and it is called the productivity paradox of AI adoption in manufacturing firms, which hits the region very hard with manufacturing. AI will actually cause a loss in productivity. And if a company doesn't have the funds to adjust for that, it may put them out of business for the company that has more resources to utilize the AI and basically modify it. So I just want to say, be wary of the AI, especially when all the Epstein stuff and all that stuff's coming out, because aren't the Republicans just falling apart at the seams? This is hilarious.
Hey, the productivity paradox that you're talking about is real, and I've heard of it before. And if you really listen to the TED Talks and you get into it, it has to be. It isn't in my mind, it's not a system-wide thing. I think people still have to run the systems, but you can use it in specific instances. Like we have like 10,000 games and shows and clips and everything, and we want to make them into things that you could use on the air. And we're never going to do that, but AI could do that in a very limited fashion. Now, we would have to take it and put it into the system. So you're right, Brad Gimbel. I'm trying to teach the young people that come through here that don't worry about being an AI, savant. What you got to start thinking of is how do you run the system? And that's what we're doing this summer, is we're trying to redo some of our systems. And it's not going that well in some cases, in that some of the new technology, like the Microsoft updated the computer and it made all of our sound cards and our video cards obsolete because they can't update like that. I mean, those kind of things are still going to be there. AI, a lot of times, will edit a clip and they will patch it together and it'll look bad and they don't have the technology down. The specific problems aren't going to go away, but you got to learn how to run that system.
Absolutely. I think utilizing it is absolutely. If you don't utilize it, you're dead in the water. At least you're going to be able to tread water for a while until you can move on to it. But I think it's an absolutely incredible technology. And if you don't use it, you're going to be at a disadvantage. Really are going to be at a disadvantage. It's like the internet when people said it wasn't viable or wasn't enough information. What they're doing is they're taking everyone's website that everyone ever made, putting it in and data banking it so they can give you back that information quickly. But what it is going to do in the long run is kill advertising. That is the one big problem that they can't figure out, is how it's not going to kill advertising. And that's kind of a crusade I'm going to go on.
Right. Well, you mean advertising agencies and advertising creative people
websites
and that kind of stuff. Yeah, so I agree. And, people will call here and buy advertising, and then they're like, well, can you write a script for us? And Peter will say, well, I already sent you one during the phone call.
Right, throw in the AI.
Yeah, and, well, you don't like that one, we'll do another one. You could literally say, go to, let's say, Ogren Insurance's website and write 3 different versions of a 29-second spot. And they will give that to you, and then you send it to Ogren Insurance, and they go, well, we like this one, we like that one, and then you might edit it a little bit. But you can have that done in about 10 or 15 minutes, where it used to be, all right, you got to write it, you got to send it back, you got to write it. Yeah, it would be a week. Exactly, that game. It's like, no, we're on the phone right now, let's finish it, and the AI will write it. Well, the same thing is happening. I'll just tell you guys, we are able to take on way more work in terms of creating videos for people. And we weren't doing that before because it took so long. But like this 219 News Now, you've been involved in that. I mean, literally, it used to take Andrew all day to gather everything, write it, do all this. Now you plug it in, either our video or our stuff or the Times' stuff, and it spits it out. You got to edit the transcript a little bit, but it takes about 15, 20 minutes to put together a newscast that used to take 5 hours.
Yes, and that is where it prospers, and that's where it's absolutely some of the most wonderful stuff. And I think it levels the playing field, because it actually puts people in the workforce of, there is no more I can't do it. Like, if you can't type in a question that you have, then that means you're just lazy and you don't want to. That's what the greatest thing about AI is to me, is that it actually can help people learn whatever subject they need to learn to adapt to the position. And if they can't do it through the AI, when it's basically being fed to them, then maybe you aren't fit for that position and you can move on. And that increases productivity. You can put that person in another area. And I think that at first it's going to kill some jobs, but in the end it's going to make us so much more powerful and put humans in a place where we are so better utilized. We are actually, we can really reach our individual potentials if we can actually understand what's coming at us through the AI and apply it. And that is where the change is going to come. So great conversation this morning. Loved it. I will see you guys sometime maybe tomorrow morning.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. 219-845-1100. Take one more. All right. Hey, you're on the air.
Good morning, Jed. First of all, let me just say that I'm just glad that Trucker Mike is doing good. He's back to work. He was seen during that process when he was feeling real bad. He was concerned more about Debbie at home. I said, Debbie will be all right. And he told me that some of his relatives came from out of state. I think his son came up and all that. So they were taking care of Debbie, and she didn't have to worry about anything. She was worried about him, and he was worried about her. So they were worried about each other, and that's great, making sure that everything is okay. But I
Matlock, you're quite the friend too. Showing up and hanging out with Trucker Mike. You went above and beyond, and it shows the kind of person that you are.
Well, when something like this, and I think with everybody, it's not no one person. Yeah, when I heard him talking about it on the radio, I didn't know where he was. I mean, the place he was, but apparently Dave Gearman knew where he was, and I was taking it to be on 169th, but it was across from this other company on Fifth Avenue, basically Reese Riley, and right across the street. That's where he was. So, but I did go to the hospital, and I just knew that he would be in good hands there. And I know a lot of those people, professional people there. And I said to them, just take care of Mike. And what do you need? I just need you all to take care of Mike.
Mike appreciates that. I haven't really brought up that to you on some of the aftercare of going to see Mike in the hospital and so forth. But I know you know some of the people over there at Methodist.
I know a lot of people over there.
Yeah, and somehow it got back to me that you were there from like somebody who works there. But all Mike was concerned about was not having a cup of coffee in the morning. Isn't that funny?
Right. Yeah. Well, that's kind of strange that he couldn't get a cup of coffee. Maybe I need to talk to some of the people there, because I know some of the administrators and stuff. Because not only Mike, unfortunately, he wasn't able to get a cup of coffee when he wanted. But any other person should be able to get a cup of coffee. You come in my house or your house, radio station, and I'm sure you get a cup of coffee if you want it. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't understand that.
Yeah. Well, I there must be some sort of protocol with people that maybe. All I was thinking is that if somebody's had a mishap like that, a health scare. Which, like that, maybe they're not, allowed to have their own coffee in case they spill their hot coffee or something like that. Maybe there's some sort of legal, the lawyers got involved in, hey, you can't give somebody who's had an issue hot coffee.
And as we go, and as I look, and if we're looking nationally in terms of health care, right now, Medicare and Medicaid is under attack, okay? I don't know if we need to have somebody who is neutral, not political. Some of the experts are saying, but what I'm hearing right now, the people who got Medicare, Medicaid, basically they might lose. Some of the hospitals or nursing homes might shut down. Can you expound a little at that? And then I'll come back at you on that. Can you expound on that? I'm sure you've heard the same thing I've heard. I don't know that, but there is a good bill that passed. What a beautiful bill that passed. I don't know if it's so beautiful. People who, like myself and other people in the community that I live in the community that, that Mike live in, would be able to give him health care. And I'm not trying to turn this political, but I just think sometimes they were saying that this one lady said it wasn't good, but I had to do it because Trump stayed on the thing, and that's unfortunate. Where he would look out for all his rich buddies, and what don't have to care about Medicare and Medicaid, basically just lining their pockets. And I think right now a lot of people are a little disappointed. I see across this country. I've never seen JED. I've never seen in a situation like this where people came across the country and they are basically peaceful protesting, saying, this is terrible. How the nursing home. I know I have a brother in a nursing home, and they say, well, we don't know how long this is going to last. We may have to close doors based on this so-called beautiful bill that passed. What do you think about that? I don't need to keep going. What do you think?
I think it's a really big topic that we have touched on, but I'll be here Thursday, and I'll make that a priority. But I just put it in here. What is the effect on health care of the big, beautiful bill? It significantly impacts health care by making cuts to Medicaid and increasing health care costs for many Americans. The changes are projected to lead to millions losing health care insurance coverage and place additional burdens on states and health care providers. So
yeah, see, and I didn't want anybody to just say, well, he's getting political, but I'm saying that's what something we ought to be talking about. We ought to be talking about, is this thing real? We need to talk to our representatives in Washington. What do they feel about it? We have local representatives, and I'm not saying that they are going along with it, but you need to be vocal about this thing. It's crazy. I mean, I've never seen anything like it in my life. Cutting this, and right now with what they came up, this beautiful. I mean, it's beautiful for him. But what about people like probably making less than just living from payday to payday? Are you aware, Jed, that there are people in my community and probably part of your community are living from paycheck to paycheck?
Oh, well, I would say most of the people 60%. Listening are living paycheck to paycheck. Ron, I do have a show I got to go to, but I don't know as if the full impact of making cuts to Medicaid and basically giving, the top 1%, tax cuts, and then, making the lowest 80% of people pay for that has really been, people don't want to hear it. They think you're right. It's a political statement. To me, it's not a political statement at all. All you got to do is read the independent analysis of what it's going to do to the average American. And I'm like, how are people not heeding this? And everybody's got somebody on Medicaid, whether it's your parents or you or somebody who's has a disability. And what you're going to do, just push them out into the street? It doesn't make any sense. But anyways, Ron, we got to go. Serious. Thank you for helping with Trucker Mike. Thanks a lot. All right, guys, I got to end this segment. Certainly Calumet Painting is very, very patient. And he finally brought me a coffee after all of these shows. So we're going to take a short break. You're going to hear a little jazz going out because we are on YouTube. I think we get like 8 viewers a show, but we're slowly expanding our umbrella onto YouTube, but we can't play any copyrighted music. So we're going to end that portion of it. We're going to pick it up on the other side with the Calumet Painting Podcast, and we'll be right back on the Voice and Face of the Region.